I want to talk about polynomials and what they are and how we identify and also what they aren't. So let's start with a function. So this function, 3x cubed plus 2x squared plus 7x minus 4, is a polynomial. Now, a polynomial can consist of a lot of terms, but really we're looking at three things that make a polynomial. First off, we have powers. Now, we may not always have x. It may be a different variable, but we have powers. And those powers have to be whole numbers. Okay, so the powers on our variable whole numbers. Sometimes you'll see this written as positive integers, but we can't have fractions, we can't have negative numbers. The powers that our variable are raised to all have to be whole numbers. The next thing that can make up our polynomials are coefficients. And these are the multipliers that go in front of our variable. Okay, so we've got coefficients. And again, these are just those numbers that multiply, in front of our variable. And the final thing that makes up polynomials are like addition and subtraction kind of operations between our terms. Okay, so we've got just these, operations, and they should be addition or subtraction, because if they were multiply or divide, we would somehow simplify those to make them different looking polynomials or simpler looking. Now, the polynomial that I've written here is in what's called standard form. Okay? And standard form simply means that the powers go from biggest down to smallest. So you can see here, the largest power I had is 3, and then 2, and then, of course, like 1, and then nothing. You could almost think about this like it was x to the 0 if you wanted to. Okay? So a standard form polynomial is just you start with the largest power and just kind of work your way down. Now, this is a really nice way to write it, because oftentimes with a polynomial, we're asked about the degree. Like, what is the degree of my polynomial? And the degree is always just whatever the highest power is. So it's really nice when it's in standard form, because, of course, the highest power, all you need to do is just look up at that very first term here and say, well, the power on that one is 3. So this one is a degree 3 polynomial. Now, why that matters to us is because polynomials, based on their highest degree, we know the shape. Like, I know what a cubic looks like. A cubic looks like this, a third power. So even without knowing like the rest of these terms and what they do, I already know the shape. The highest power always tells me that. So knowing the degree is really useful. Okay, let's look at some others. So here you see again, I've got powers, I've got coefficients, and I've got operators between them. But in this case, it is not a polynomial. And the reason it's not a polynomial is because a polynomial has to have whole number powers, and they have to be positive. So really we have two strikes here. This is a fractional exponent, and this is a negative exponent. So those are the two things that make this not a polynomial. That negative in front of the x to the fourth, that's not a big deal, because you can think about that like it was a -1 coefficient. But those powers are a problem. Let's look at another one. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use some algebra to show that this is a polynomial, and then I'm going to answer kind of those questions we talked about, which is, can I write it in standard form, and can I figure out the degree? Okay, so let's start by just using our algebra, distributing in. So 3x squared times x is 3x cubed. 3x squared times 4 is minus 12x squared. 8x multiplied in, so 8x times x squared would be 8x cubed. And 8x times 1 is 8x. And then just have this 3x off the same at the end. Now, I've got to combine my like terms. Okay? We want to put these together. A polynomial should have basically one term that represents a power. And in this case, you see right away, I got two terms with x cubed. I got two terms with x. So 3x cubed and 8x cubed is 11x cubed. I don't have another x squared term, just the one. And then 8x and 3x is 11x. So this is now my standard form. Just going to make a little note. And it's standard form again because you can see that the powers start with x cubed and just go down. I'm going to just make a note here. The powers just decrease, x cubed, x squared, x to the first, if you want to think about it that way. And then the degree of this polynomial is 3. Again, it's just whatever the highest power is. So if it's in standard form, it's just that highest power. So right away, I again know what the shape is. So just to recap, polynomials need whole number positive powers. They need some coefficients, and then they need operators, addition, subtraction between them. That's why up here it was really kind of hard to see it was going to be a polynomial because we had operators that were multiply. So we got rid of that, we distributed, we put our terms together, got it in standard form, then it was real easy. If this video helped you, please like and subscribe for more math help.